Welcome in, everybody. The Chiefs put up a valiant fight, but once again, stubbed their own toes and have put themselves out of a ball game. And for the first time in a long while, the Chiefs are 0-2 as we're counting down the last 2 minutes. Hope you guys are doing all right. We are live a little bit early. Daniel, anything positive to say? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think the coverage played a lot better today. I showed multiple occasions, like the defense at least had a lot more heart. They played with a lot more energy, a lot more fire. They were out there making plays, giving the offense every opportunity. But unfortunately, when you can't do much of anything, it doesn't matter that's the case.
Yeah, it doesn't. I left the Boulevard shirt on today because that's what I'll be consuming as soon as we're done here. Shout out to Boulevard and everybody else. As we're watching this game kind of tick down here, the tush push has been a very, very controversial topic for a long while. But getting to false start on top of it is just kind of ridiculous. And I don't blame Chris Jones for being fired up. I don't blame him for acting out a little bit. I saw some criticism of him online in Chiefs Kingdom, but I don't have a problem with that. Leo Chanel thinks they just turned the ball over. We're going to find out. If they do that, this is a whole new ball game, and maybe my score prediction can still hold up. But as it is right now, Chiefs gotten their butt kicked left and right all day long. While the defense has been a better effort, they haven't been able to get stops. Let's see what this says right here.
Yeah.
I am not seeing a referee signal.
The Chiefs have the football, but those are the fumble.
We are going to see. I hope you guys are doing well. This is RGR. This is what we do live post-game. We're going to break it down, give you our notes. It looks like they are leaving the ball in the hands of the Eagles. So, again, we are just kind of letting this tick down once again. I would throw that flag if I were Andy, and it looks like they may have. I thought they came out with better energy. I felt like the whole team played more aggressive. They needed to do that. It's inexplicable to me how at home Patrick can be so rattled that he missed throws all day long. And most importantly, the big turnover, I think, was as much on Kels as it was on him. But both of them seem not to be in sync on what are usually for them routine plays. Do I have too high an expectation at this point?
I don't know if necessarily you have high expectations, but when there's so much pressure on them to get every little thing right, chances are they're not going to. It doesn't fall your way every single time. And Patrick was throwing the football down and away all day on purpose. Coverage was close. He was trying to make it so things like that didn't happen. So unfortunately, when you don't catch the football in that situation, it creates a problem. And that's the margins for this team without Xavier Worthy, without Rashee Rice, with an offensive line that is still trying to figure it out, a run game that can't actually function. There's so much pressure being put upon the Chiefs and Patrick and really Travis, who's not the player he was. Let's be very honest about this. He's just not the player he was, but he made some good plays today. He made some bad ones. And that can be said about just about everybody in terms of the offense and the execution. So again, I expected them to lose this football game, and it's not because I don't think that they're a good football team, but you go into it with your left hand tied behind your back. Really, it's your right hand, because Xavier and Rashee Rice are your right hand at this point. They are, especially if you're a right-handed boxer. They lead with those two guys, and when they're out, you saw the problems. They couldn't run the football effectively. They tried. I give them credit. They tried to do a little bit here and there. They tried to run more under center play action, but the pressure on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to be the best that they are it's too much. And Patrick is doing everything he can, and Travis, he can't do anything anymore. He can't do some of those things physically. So I think that overall, this was a far better effort than last week. If there's anything to take away from this, it's that they played better, a collective game of football. Maybe not so much on the offense, but we saw the effort to actually try things and do things that they weren't doing in week one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a very good distinction to make. As it stands, they have gone to final. Chiefs lose. They are 0-2, which is just strange to have to say. But listen to this. Saquon Barkley outgained Patrick Mahomes on the ground by just 22 yards. The Chiefs defense did their job in that they only gave up, 105 yards rushing? No, 115 yards rushing. That is not bad. You told me 4 days ago that's what they do. I say they win. That is easily my prediction. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get to some of your questions. I see them coming in, and I appreciate you. Super chats, we're definitely going to answer you, and I think we'll get to almost everybody others' topics, and we are herding them along here right now. But that said, I appreciate that it was, 18 dedicated carries. No, not 19 dedicated carries that Andy called to a total of 29 passes. I do believe the scrambles count in there. So basically a 2-to-1 ratio. About 38 dropbacks to 19 runs. I can't argue too much with that. It's a whole lot better than it has been. And I think even though the yardage wasn't there, 3.9 a carry for Hunt, who was clearly the better back today, only 2.2 for Pops. It just isn't, it wasn't enough to capitalize on top of. You have to do that more. And I think he tried to go back to it and it just wasn't there. And I don't know the exact numbers. What I'm concerned about is what I thought was a strength for these guards who were struggling today, both of them, both your potential all-pro and Trey Smith and the effectual rookie Kingsley Suamataia, both were struggling with the big ends inside. That does happen. But the run should have given them an opportunity to settle that down, and it didn't. So the solution that you can normally go to didn't work, and I didn't think they had, once again, a backup solution.
There wasn't, and granted, we did see a wide zone one time. We saw it one time, but the problem is, you see, is Pacheco can't get up to speed fast enough for it to matter. He doesn't have that outside gear. So the attempt. So what we've been saying, they can't get it done because of their own defaults, like their own problems, their own issues that they created on themselves by not addressing the running back room with somebody who you felt comfortable enough to go out there and run wide zone. Because I'll tell you right now, Rashard Smith can run wide zone. He can run it, but they just didn't want to give him the football in that situation. So there's something going on in the team that they don't feel comfortable handing the football to that rookie. They don't really feel comfortable with putting Noah Williams out there more, who I thought made a really good play. He got his head around on that Devontae Smith could have been catch, the one that Trent McDuffie wasn't unable to get his head around on. So we'll get to that whole situation in a little bit, but when it comes to the offense, I expected them to attack Kingsley. They also added a little bit of a wrinkle where they brought Burks down and they blitzed him on that side so they were doing different things to attack him, which I'm not going to give him a ton of blame for that. However, Trey Smith can't be losing like he lost today. He got abused. To be very honest, he got pushed back multiple times. I know people are going to say that Kingsley's the one that caused the sack on that last drive. Nope, that was Trey Smith getting blown into the backfield that made Patrick have to get up into the pocket. And then Mora Jomo, who Kingsley, he get pushed back, but he's got control of. He's in front of him. So yeah, there's a lot there's a tweet from Mitchell Schwartz talking about how this team does not run the football effectively. They can't run the football effectively. And it's week 2 of a season where you don't have, again, we've said this a bunch, you don't have all your weapons. You guys aren't healthy. And luckily, Josh Simmons didn't get more hurt in this football game. He just kind of got nicked up, went back in. He ended up playing, but it's going to take time for the offensive line to gel, which we've talked about. But I understand, it's frustrating to watch because everything went wrong for the Chiefs in this game. But they had the football with a chance to take the lead. That's remember. I understand the interception turnaround is an awful point swing. They had the football in the red zone, really inside the 10-yard line, with a chance to take the lead, and they didn't do it. Defense played well. I thought that drive was a cementing of what they had to do to move the football against the Eagles. They figured out, okay, this is how we can get it done. They did it. Patrick made the right decisions. He threw the football where he needed to throw it. At the end of the day, it didn't get executed. And that's what we mentioned in the first game. Execution is what kills this team. The plays are there to be made, but when you can't execute in those key moments, which is what they typically do, you're going to lose football games like this.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is you cannot just make it that clean cut. There's a good question here from Frankie I was going to save till later, but we're going to jump to this. Right now, no, that was not it. See, that's the
not
second
it.
time. Oh, and I just banned somebody that I didn't mean to ban. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix that here too. Where did it go? I just lost it? I had it, and oh, it's gone. Okay, here's the question, and I understand where Frankie's coming from. No reason for the onside kick. I think, unfortunately, I disagree with that. It's not grossly so to me, because you have a good point. For the most part, they were able to manage it. But in just the fact that you want to keep the clock moving, in preventing them from getting first downs with Saquon, I didn't feel like they were going to be able to get a stop there. Did you?
No, as soon as they didn't get the football, I knew that this was over. Especially because how many times have we seen they just have to get to second or third and 1. It doesn't matter. That's all they're looking for. And I know everyone's going to be mad about the false starts. Yes, that needs to be fixed. However, you got to get lower. You have to get lower. You have to force them to go high. They did a couple times. I think they did a pretty admirable job against the tush push, to be very honest with you. But they allowed themselves to be in that position, which is the problem. And in those game situations, once the Eagles got the football, I knew that it was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to address this right now too. Reginald, if you got a problem, go ahead and say it, because I'm going to say I have a problem with you making this comment. Nothing's clickbait. This is a significant blow to this season to go 0-2 for a team that's never done that. I don't do clickbait, and I'm offended that you would put that in here. So if you want to go elsewhere and watch your post game, go ahead. But this is a significant game. Maybe you should think about what I'm trying to tell you instead of having this kind of like back and forth kind of thing, because they have not been in this position before in quite a while. So this is difficult. This could be the waterfall that breaks everything. They have to guard very, very closely right now about how they deal with this, with not only their stars, but especially with all the young players right now. That's what I'm most concerned about, reaction to this game, knowing that they pumped themselves back up and they came out after it again and they weren't able to be successful. I'm worried about the second-year players and especially the rookies and their frame of mind after this. What do you see?
Yeah, I think you can feel a lot better. Obviously, there's no moral victories when you're 0-2. It's hard to say there's moral victories, but I think this one was a good effort for maybe 80% of the roster. I think there was a lot of good that came out of this football game, a lot of compete from the defense, which is something you don't see a ton of, and you didn't see a ton of in the very first matchup with the Chargers. You didn't see a lot of that energy and a lot of that. So just trying to get them that timeline, right? We know that Spags is a very timeline oriented guy with the young players who, you're going to have your chances. It's going to come after the bye for the most part. So all we have to really understand here is that this is a long season. It shouldn't decide what happens for the Chiefs if you go 0-2. However, when you have to wait, I mean, maybe now they have to force Xavier Worthy back too early. Like maybe they have to do more in that regard because they don't feel like the offense can move the football. So I think if anything, we're talking about stressing the timeline for the entire football team, and a guy like Xavier, you might have to push a little bit too hard to come back because most of what you're doing on offense is not functioning properly.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I feel bad that like a lot of the focus is going to become about him and his return because it's a missing piece.
Yeah.
I feel like Thorne made some progress. Obviously, they had to go back to him time and time again, but it did work out eventually. And I think the upside is worth the effort there. But it's a stark difference when you're trying to do that with him versus Xavier, or if Rasheed was here. So I think there's going to be that comparison that puts that pressure on him. And I hope that even like the broadcast was saying that I don't know who was reporting it, that he could be back next week.
Yeah.
I hope that they just don't make it too, hey, we need you, so you need to be back, not you're ready so you can be back.
That's the problem. Like, I mean, Jay Glazer was one, I think, that reported that there's a chance he's back next week, which, I mean, usually he has decent information. So if he is, okay, it is what it is. But you put yourself in an unfortunate situation. Again, like we talk about how when you start the season this way, it's hard for most teams to make it to the postseason. It just statistically, it doesn't happen very often. Now, the Chiefs are a different football team. Hopefully, with this type of problems that they found themselves in. They're able to overcome the adversity that they've laid upon themselves. But we have to remember that there's a lot that has gone into this football team over the past 5, 6, 7 years. And eventually a season comes along where it catches up to you at some point. If that happens to be this year, okay, it happens to be this year. I still think in terms of talent-wise, when everyone is healthy on the field, they're a very good football team, and they're going to be a good football team. However, running back is holding them back a little bit right now. When you don't have Xavier, you don't have Rashee Rice. The defense, this is more of what I expect from them. I'll be honest. Again, I was more impressed with their run defense today. They played really well, and this is more of what I expect from them. This will give them the opportunity to win a lot of football games throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I hear you. In fact, I'm going to do a little experiment right now. If you had to pin it on one thing for me, it is probably just a frenetic nature of the offense. Again, the defense let itself be run on, but we knew that was a possibility. We knew that Spags chooses that over giving up the defense. Despite losing Fulton, I thought the DBs played pretty well. And that was probably like when it happened to lose Dana and Fulton at virtually the same time. That made me a bit nervous. But I think they held up and they did their job for the most part. This is still a team that only scored 20 points on you. Yeah. And in years past, that was a gimme that you had to win. If you only give up 20, it was done. This, I feel, is once again more on the offensive shift than it is anything else. And that's got to come back to Andy. And I know there's people, I've seen a few references to it, but I know there's people in the chat, they're going to be, this is on Nagy and Andy. And as much as I can understand the philosophical, I'm still not there because I felt like the players were in position to execute. And I'm still laying more of it at the guys on the field than I am about the scheme or the plan.
And that's what it is. I'm not a big Matt Nagy fan. I'm not going to sit here and support Matt Nagy because I think that he's just fine. I think he's a fine offensive coordinator. I don't think he's doing anything to elevate this team. However, did Matt Nagy throw the football over a wide open Tyquan Thornton's head? Did that happen? I don't think Matt Nagy's out there doing that. No, Patrick was fine, sat in the pocket, and just blatantly overthrew him. Okay? Yeah. The deep ball accuracy is a problem. It's a problem. We're now in year 3 where it's a problem. I don't know what has to happen, but when you look around the league, everyone else can throw the deep ball. I just saw a statistic that this was the 8th deep touchdown Patrick Mahomes has thrown since Tyreek Hill was traded. And Derek Carr has 29 of those, and he just retired. Okay? Yeah. So there is a problem with his own mind that he cannot throw the deep ball. The execution on this football team on the offensive side, when you, again, don't have this, everyone that you're supposed to have fails, and it makes you have to play perfectly. They can't play perfect football. I don't think any team in week 2 can play perfect football. I actually don't think anybody can play perfect football. It doesn't really happen at all.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
When you are forced to be. Yeah, when you're forced to do it, it becomes difficult.
I'm frustrated with myself. Somebody got banned. Mustard, I know you're out there. At least I hope you're back out there. I didn't mean to ban you. I will get that corrected, but I can't get it to do it right this second. So bear with me a couple here. There are plenty of super chats, Dan. Do you want to take some of those while I try to get this sorted out for him?
Yeah, not a problem. We'll get through some of these. Daryl, I appreciate the support again. Thank you very much for being here. I feel better than last week. Tell me something good. I think that this was a much better effort. Defense was much better. Daryl, you didn't have to put 2 of them in there. We appreciate it. You got 2. I'll tell you 2 good things, though, because we got 2 from you right here. So we, again, very much appreciate that. I do think everyone should feel a little bit better, at least from the effort standpoint. I think that the effort was very good, specifically from the defense. I think that Noah Williams is really going to be a good football player, and that helps you in the long run. Hopefully Christian Fulton and Mike Dana are okay. But this is the defense and the defensive effort that I think we should be accounting for, and we should be expecting every week in Kansas City. Now, will they get it? We'll find out. But overall, I think that this is the kind of performance I came to expect from a Chiefs defense, and that makes me feel much better as well. So second thing is they saw that we were right. They saw that there are problems to not run the football, to try to run more play action from under center and try to run more under center runs in general were the right thing to do. I think early in the game, they had some plays from under center. The problem is they had one really good play action and then they went right back to the same thing. And the Eagles were like, okay, fine, we're just going to blitz you. Like they have to stagnate it a little bit. They have to be able to run the football and then hit play action and then run the football again to make the defense stay honest, which they were unable to do. But being self-aware that you have to be able to run the football in today's NFL, even though they couldn't really do it very well, they did try. It is something to look forward to, in my opinion. Thank you very much, Daryl. Perry, thank you very much for the 5-man. Thanks for being here. I've said it for a while. The refs allow reputation to dictate calls. Eagles offensive lines get away with a lot because of their reputation. I just don't think that they care enough to look, personally, when it comes to the touch push. Everyone's up the line. They're looking to make sure that no one is hanging over the football. They are looking to make sure when the ball is snapped. I don't think that they care enough about the touch push. Maybe after this game, we'll see it happen a little bit more. But typically, that's I'm not going to count on something like that happening.
Yeah, right. And you don't want to be the reason they have to like go back and do that. Yeah. Right? You're already in a bad position at that point. I think the problem is it's already a nearly perfect play, right? So you would think that a little bit more attention would be paid to it because it's already a difficult play to stop. Although the Chiefs did stop it twice today. They did stop a similar play with Josh Allen last year. Now the Eagles are the masters at it, but if you give them that added advantage, it just makes it impossible to actually get done. So I think that's where my concern lies.
For me, I'm just, at the end of the day, we're looking at penalties, and I'm looking more at what actually caused the Chiefs to lose a football game, and it's turning the football over at the 5-yard line. It had nothing really to do with the penalties. I know it sucks in those situations, but that's the same thing that happens with the Chiefs when they're winning and they're at the end of the game and they have they're trailing from behind and they get a penalty here or they don't get a penalty here. Like it's the same thing. Just go win the football game and we don't have to worry about penalties. Daryl, a member for 57 months. That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Is the offensive line are the offensive line firing off the ball? I think that's probably what we're looking at here. Sometimes they get blown off the ball. I think you saw that a couple of times as well. It's a back and forth right now, I think, where you do see sometimes where they actually get push, and it's just not a consistent thing. So I don't know if that's something that you can really coach into them right at this point. I don't know if you can figure that part out, but I know that the mentality for some of them is definitely to want to run the football. It's getting over the emphasis of the passing game and trying to actually get the mindset of we need to be able to dominate a defensive line. It's not inherent in the way that they coach this offense and this offensive line.
I'm concerned about what the future holds, to tell you the truth, because it can't sustain this way, especially when you've just made back-to-back significant investment in the draft in Kingsley and now Simmons. I got to tell you, I was a little panicked when Simmons went out.
Yeah,
because that just derails everything, right? But I should be just as panicked about if you are not able to help him progress due to the coaching, then there is a problem. That is one area right now that I will lay at the coach's feet. Yeah. Andy Heck has not been able to get multiple players to progress in recent years. And I don't know what that is or means. I can't tell you because offensive line room is maybe the best held secret in any NFL building. You're not going to get those guys to talk about each other. And we will never know until something does happen. But I will say this. Kingsley still has his work to do, but I thought he took a step forward all on his own and thanks to his teammates more than any change of technique or anything that I've been able to see on film. And maybe there's more to it, and I'm not giving Andy Heck enough credit. But if I had to pick one offensive coach that really needs to do more, it is Andy Heck, closely followed by Connor Embry and the wide receivers, but that's fine. We can have those debates. I don't think the offensive line is going to be able to take a huge step forward until something changes attitude-wise in their room day to day to day, not just on game day.
Yeah, at some point there's always a root cause, right? I think that stylistically, Andy Reid still wants to run outside zone, right? Go back to Damian Williams. That was the last time that we saw explosive run plays really happen, to be very honest with you. Pacheco kind of bounced into some explosives here and there, but it wasn't because he's good at running outside zone. And because they've had to change into this team where Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are your 1 and 2, and they have to actually get physical push and get to the second level to make things happen, we are seeing that it's not really developing there. So the run game coordinator and the offensive line coach being the same person, right? If I'm not mistaken by that, is Andy Heck the run game coordinator?
I don't know if that's an official title. I know he probably has the input, but I don't know.
I'm not sure at this point that it's being developed well enough for the Chiefs to run the football. And again, if you're having to develop on your own outside the building, that's one thing you physically can, but trying to get the run game developed on your own is a whole other issue.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're going to run through some of your comments and questions here, folks. We are also going to have a breakdown here, Q&A on Monday night like we always do, and then our pieces back-to-back on the following days, and then we'll get ready for game number 3. But tonight, we'll be doing Locked On Chiefs as well, so make sure you check out that, as well as everything that Dan's doing, both on the Twitter account and over at Bleacher, because if you want to start looking for, tackles or corners or whatever you're looking for, you can go start that now on Dan's feed. Nice to see Sean back. Good. I hope you're doing well, Big Chief. His offensive line officially sus. Yes, that is long and sailed, as we just discussed. Sorry, I should have pulled you up while we were doing that. 3 things. TK drop. Yep, absolutely. That was the turning point. Mahomes has lost his deep ball skills. I don't know that that's it. He certainly can still fling the ball out there. There's almost like, holy crap, somebody's open, I got to get it to him right now. Like, he rushes himself is the way it feels to me, especially that one to Thorne. I didn't feel there was an outside influence that really forced that. All out blitz by Spags that led to TD was a poor call. They did it to the Eagles before and it ended the exact same way. And I wrote that in my notes as well. There's a time and place for cover 0, and I think it's used too much, because we have seen repeatedly that in that situation, I don't know if it's the tension or the technique or what it is, but there are pass plays given up very often, way more than they should be.
That was the perfect time to show it and pull back. Perfect time to show it and pull back. He didn't do that once. And again, the answer is to speed up Jalen Hurts. They did multiple times. They did a good job of doing it. But the problem is when you go to it and you go to it and you go to it, you leave A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith one-on-one. And Trent McDuffie got A.J. Brown once. Okay? He ended up getting beat by Devontae Smith down the field. You're going to give up a play. You're going to do it. And they didn't do it all game until it mattered. At that moment, you have to adjust. So, I love what Spags did. He had a great game plan for the Eagles today. They adjusted within the game. That was the one time he didn't adjust. And that's why they got beat by it.
That's fair. It was a drastically different thing than what happened in Brazil. I will give you that. Angler, yeah, hey, Smith walked in and was able to do some stuff.
Yeah.
You never know. Steven, yeah, I thought Noel played a good game from what I saw. I did think that he got beat on that play because of the way it's run in college. I don't think he quite adapted to running through that, and he had to recover. Technically, I think they could have probably called him for a foul, but I'm glad they didn't. I don't think he can get away with that again. I'll just say it that way.
Oh, I think he can, because when you come to a full stop as a receiver and then try to get back going, what? You expect the DB to move out of the way? Like that I think that's different. I
agree. I don't think the refs do. I think they'll.
I think that they do. When you come to when you come to a full stop, it's different than when you're trying to change direction. Full stop is different than change direction. I think he played it pretty well, and then just got his head around. Right? We talk how many times about DBs not getting their head around. There's one thing that guy's going to do down the field. He is going to read the receiver very well and get his head around. So I'm telling you guys. I said it in week 1. He should have been playing more in week 1. He looks very good. And again, we're not going to see a ton of him yet, but I do think they need to just continue to sprinkle him in, continue to do so, because he's not just a force defender in the run. He's more than willing to do that. He can give you some of those maybe deflections, just if they could have gotten that Trent McDuffie deflection, dude,
Oh, I know.
like it was there. So the bounce went directly to the Eagles. It didn't go directly to the Chiefs. So those are the margins. Those are the margins of victory. That's it.
Yeah, especially early in any Chiefs season, they're always like
Yeah.
kind of flustered until they figure some things out. There's a lot more fine tuning than I think that we normally give them credit for, that we should probably call some attention to. So, Thundarius, thank you. Appreciate you in your sport like you always do, and I get that you're frustrated. I think we all are. I think I am. So, pardon for my outburst before. Sometimes I get pissed off too. I don't do stupid stuff like clickbait. I try to give you an honest reaction that's emotional. So, if you guys don't like the title, then I'll flip it. But I think it's something to be concerned about. And Jeff, you bring up a great point, and that is a highlight of my notes as well.
Yeah.
Is that hustle saved that game to even keep it competitive? Thank to Josh Simmons. And for those that are like, we don't need athletic offensive linemen, that's one reason why right there.
Oh, man, that's one of the highlights of the day, just in general, of the last 2 weeks. Like Josh Simmons showing you what it looks like to give all-out effort. Those are football plays that win games. In every other type of situation where an offense can score, where it's not put down to a 2-possession game, those little margins, again, Josh Simmons shows you why he's going to be an elite football player, because he wants it. He wants it more than just about anybody else. And no offense, Travis at 36 years old after a pick is not running full speed after Andrew Makuba, who's going to outrun him every day of the week. He's just not going to do it. But Josh Simmons, he's going to go make a play. Go make a play for his team.
I think a couple of things about this game really hurt me because how he drafts all these guys that I like and really pisses me off. And B, it's like I could see guys that I would have on this roster on theirs, and it makes me angry. But the other thing that I would say is that we had this debate all week. Every time I did an appearance this last week, it was, shouldn't Jalen be up in the realm with Mahomes now because Mahomes has fallen off and Jalen's doing so well? I still can't get behind that. The percentage is better, but he threw for 100 yards. He's not asked to do that much. I like Jalen, but you can't tell me that he's a top 5 quarterback. It just isn't the case, demonstrated on what he does week to week.
I like Jalen Hurts for what he is. I think he's perfect for that system. But you saw today how much of the offense is put on his shoulders and how much of the offense is put on Patrick Mahomes' shoulders. It's a lot that's put on Patrick's. He has to do everything. And every now and then, Jalen's got to throw a ball up to one of his receivers to go make a play. He didn't even have to do anything but get it in the vicinity. That's all he had to do. He didn't have to throw an accurate football. It was a one-on-one coverage. So just go, my guy's going to make a play. That's all we're going to do. So when you're able to do that, because you have one-on-one coverage on the field, you have guys you can trust to go catch the football. The Chiefs don't have that. I mean, Tyquan Thornton made a play at the end of the game. Cool. But there's so much that's put on Patrick right now. And I know that there's a lot of people that, and myself included, I blame a little bit on his deep ball accuracy. It's not good, and it hasn't been for a while now. But he is asked to do more than any other quarterback in the NFL. Just is. And it's a week in and week out thing now. For 2 weeks, he's had to be a bigger runner than he's ever had to be in his entire career and carry a lot more of the offense on his shoulders because Xavier Worthy is hurt and Rashee Rice is suspended. So there's always a frame of reference for it. I know that it's hard to look at this loss when you go 0-2 now as a Chiefs fan and say, well, this might be it. It might be, sure. We don't know. But I think when the team is back and everyone is on the same page and Patrick has Xavier and Rashee, why don't we wait until that to really see what can be fixed and what can be changed? Because I'll tell you right now, there's only one thing that can't actually be fixed, and it's the 4-man pass rush.
Yeah. I mean, the only way that works is exactly how you saw it work when Norman Lott got his first sack.
Which was the covered sack.
Exactly. It was only there because the DBs were in position that long. And kudos to them because they got their butts handed to them last week.
Yes,
they came back and they allowed plays like that to happen. HL, I agree. There has to be more options in there. I don't think I saw a slant, but once today. They're running those really well last week, and that would have taken care of it.
Hollywood had one there at the end. I think they had a couple of them, but they just weren't throwing it.
I was baffled. Carlos, do you think since the official looks lackluster, they go after Tyreek or another wide receiver they can trade off? They can't get Tyreek. He'll have to be cut and have to sign for peanuts. I don't think there's anybody they can acquire that can really fix it.
There is a clause in his contract, if I'm not mistaken, that if he gets traded, it's like it alleviates the cap hit. From what I've seen, like there is a clause in his contract. So I do think there's a way. I don't think they're going to trade for him, but the sky's not falling because they lost. They don't have two number one receivers.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's hard. I really do. It's so frustrating to watch that performance. And we can blame the offense for losing this football game today, but we can't look at 3 or 6 weeks in the future and say that team we're going to blame for today's loss. It's going to look different.
Yeah, I agree. Angler, welcome to the memberships. Thank you. We appreciate you. You're in here a ton, and it's nice to see you become official. So that's very much appreciated. Sean was talking about the penalties in the field goal, the Bucker missing again. Yeah, it doesn't help. I don't think that determined the game, but I guess to your point, it would have been a tie ball game if it wasn't for that. So fair enough. I can't really argue.
Yeah,
so it's getting to that point where you hit the big things and you miss the easies. That's not going to work for me. KT, I appreciate the support. I'm not ready to say that Travis Kelce is cooked at this point, that he needs to go. I don't think we're close to that, to tell you the truth. Do they look good? No, but from here to where they can be in a matter of a couple of weeks, I think is back to all-pro status, to be honest.
I mean, Travis made 2 incredible plays today. Let's not forget he made 2 very good plays today. We're just not going to see the all-pro Travis Kelce anymore. We're seeing an average to just above average Travis Kelce, which is still a lot better than a lot of tight ends in the league. The problem is that you have some execution errors. He was there. Patrick threw him the football, and he's just a half second late at tracking it, which eyesight, if you guys know anything about that with the aging, typically goes a little bit downhill, just a little bit. And I'm not saying that he's blind by any stretch. I'm saying it might take him that hair second longer to track the football when he's turning around. So, and remember, 5-yard line, end zone. So it's not like the first one where he turned around and the ball's got a little bit more time to come to him. It's there. Right. It's there when he turns around. So it's just those microscopic differences that change how you can actually see tracking. Tracking is not something easily done at the speeds that they have to do it at.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple of people in here that are talking about a topic that I do want to hit before we're done. All right, you two talk me off the ledge. I'm ready to say we aren't making the playoffs. Also, what are the Eagles able to commit a penalty on every single touch push? And that's absolutely right, Quentin. Like, the league's got to review that, and they've got to put out a memo to the refs that this cannot happen, because that's literally unstoppable when they get that advantage of starting the damn play early. But I don't know. Just because there's been 2 games, the great thing about football is you can be in a rut and you can be on a month-long losing streak, and it doesn't put you out of a season. That is the truth. And as much as I let the title get a little emotional here, it's about the turning point. It's about what you do from this point. Do you continue to make improvements like we saw with the attitude and the gang tackling? And quite frankly, I don't know how you feel, Dan. Brian Cook played one of his best games as a Chief, and that was bowing up because of last week. If this game decides that and they take another step forward, it can launch them back towards their normal selves, at least on the defensive side. We'll see about the offense. But if not, if they take this as, we gave it our best shot and now we crumble, it could be something that changes all of that. So I'm not ready to say they're not a playoff team. I still think they can win 12 or 13 games if they can get this sorted out this month. That's the key to me.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's how you answer. How are you going to answer being 0-2? Teams crawl in the hole all the time. This team typically does not do that. And I think they showed you today why they don't. There was a lot of answer. I know the offense had a really bad time. They struggled a lot throughout the football game, but it's not the final version of this football team on the offensive side. And the defense gave you every opportunity. Before that last touchdown, the Eagles had 13 points. Like, it was a 13-point game, and it swung because of the interception. I think that they don't score again, personally, because they have to throw the football after that. If the Chiefs score there, we're talking about a 13-point game. I don't think the Eagles go down and just score right away. The defense was doing their job. So when you get that interception injection of boost, like energy, that gives your offense something else. And again, they still stopped the tush push on the goal line. They did that once. They did it. Like, it's, I don't know, man. I'm not, there's no ledge here for me, because I think that this is one of the worst starts to a season they could have had, with the unluckiness in terms of injuries, with Xavier getting hurt. Obviously, you have the suspension for Rice, and then just not showing up in Brazil. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'll say this too. I agree with you. That changed everything. Until that cover zero completion,
Yeah.
they went for, I think, 22 yards. They hadn't thrown anything farther than 6 yards down the field. On the day, they finished below 5 yards per attempt in the air.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So you weren't in danger. If you don't turn that ball over, we've always said, and a lot of pundits have, turnovers are the keys to ball game. You don't turn that ball over right there, and even if you only kick 3, this is a game you win. It's that close. And let's remember, the Eagles might not be as good as they were last year, but they're still the defending Super Bowl champions. So you're not going to get that kind of level of effort, especially on the defensive front, from every team that you're about to play. I am convinced of that. Quentin, thank you. And thank you for 4 years. MHK, thank you for joining. Jacob, thank you. Free agent trade options. Hall, Taylor, Stevenson. I don't think any of those would come to pass for Andy. Wide receiver, Pittman, Olave, DJ Moore. Olave's the only guy that I think you would be interested in. That's another small, undersized receiver that you got to get open again. That's going to deal with injuries. Defense, Simmons, Jordan, Brian Burns. I mean, don't even get me started about Brian Burns. If he were on this roster, I'd be happier than a pig and stuff. But that ain't going to happen either. I don't know that there's viable trades out there right now that I'm aware of that they can go after.
I'm tired.
I hope that we get something in terms of, hey, this guy's on the block, or they could be willing to move on from him. Much like Avery's ready to move on from this day. She's going to take a nap or go to bed.
She's going to bed.
It is. It's 8 p.m. there. I keep forgetting that you're on Eastern time now. It's crazy.
Night.
Night, honey. Not going to lie. Tom wouldn't miss wide open receivers down the field. Yeah, I agree with you. There's something changed, Callie, and I don't know if he can get it back right now. It's going to be a work in progress.
Yeah.
Beach, thank you, buddy. We will get right with the offense when the wide receivers are back. DB's played better, but I can't watch Charles Omenihu anymore. Yeah, Charles, if he's coming off the edge where he's comfortable, he can still get some things done. But as soon as they had to reduce him down for the lack of Mike Dana, I mean, and if you go watch those tush pushes, Gelati's getting more push against the tush push than Omenihu is. A kid who's been in this league for like a half a second. So there is something definitely there that you're not getting the best or what you would hope from Charles.
Yeah.
Handful of bad place balls that didn't allow teammates to make the play. I don't know what has happened to Mahomes. And honestly, neither do we, Jacob. It's unless, Dan, you do have a theory that I'm not aware of.
Well, I missed the entire first quarter because of Fox. So I can't help that with you guys. I didn't get to see it because Fox decided that the end of the Giants-Cowboys games was far more important than me watching the Chiefs game.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to get in his head at this point.
Yeah, I have to agree. We're going to speed through the rest of these as I have to get on to Locked On, but go ahead and crush some of these as we go through, Dan.
Jeez. My dog is going crazy, y'all. Quentin, in y'all's opinion, should you be able to push the ball carrier forward? I say no. I don't care how many historic plays get erased. It seems like a bad play. No, absolutely you can. Offensive line, do it to running backs every single play. No one complains about it until it's tush push, so it doesn't bother me at all personally.
Okay.
Cool. Oh my gosh, that dog. MHK effort on offense, especially run, a little lacking. I don't necessarily know if it's the effort on offense today. I think that they played with the effort. The problem is that I think the execution is just lacking, and it's been lacking for a while now. And the game plan changes. The game plan changes because you have different players, because you now have a new offensive line on the left side trying to gel. And now you're pushed into doing more for Hollywood Brown. You're pushed into Tyquan Thornton doing more. You're making players that are 3s and 4s into 1s and 2s, which is the problem, right? We have to remember that Hollywood Brown is not a 1 in his career anymore. He is a 3 at best. He is the number 1 receiver for the Chiefs right now. So think about how the talent gap that we had between 1 and 3 is now from 1, which is Hollywood Brown, to 3, which is who? Juju Smith-Schuster or Tyquan Thornton? It's a bad situation. When Tyquan is your 5th or 6th guy, you feel really good about that. When he's your 2 or 3, you don't feel very good about that.
You can't, and this is exactly why. 2 weeks in a row, Travis cost us the gamer. Yeah, that's a problem, and it's not something that they're able to deal with because I don't think they know how. They never had to deal with it before, Jonathan. And appreciate you. Beach, appreciate you. Welcome in, folks. We got to speed through this because I need to wrap up here in about a minute. So we're going to hit all the super chats. Simmons was moving at tackle. Yes, Beach, he certainly was. And I think that that's just a sign of more to come. For your mind, hesitation, accuracy, footwork, and confidence when the game is not on the line scare me concerning 15. He does seem to need a jump start lately. Like going out and just playing doesn't seem to idle as hot as he used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just the problem. If you need to go, you can go. I can handle this.
Yeah, okay.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm getting pinged pretty dramatically, so I'm going to let you do that.
All right, you go. I'll take this for everybody else. Say bye to Ryan. Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow on the Q&A.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be setting up, so when Dan's done here, come over to Locked On Chiefs. We should be going in about 15 minutes, folks. Thank you, Dan. Right. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. You do what you got to do. All right, guys. All right. I don't see any trades happening, Dirty. I don't think the Chiefs are going to kind of I guess in their mind, right? Their mind overemphasize what's happened early on in the season for the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to make any trades until possibly the trade deadline. Probably going to be one thing to keep our eyes on for a pass rusher. For your mind, thank you very much for the 5. Hesitation, I think he did this one. Yes, you're probably right about that. I agree in terms of just getting on time. His footwork, I think, is the biggest problem. Is that Ryan said that earlier he thinks that Patrick is kind of rushing, and when you rush, your feet aren't set properly. They're not pointed where they're supposed to be pointed, and he's overthrowing and making it more arm-based than actually up through his body, and at least that's how it feels to me. Punisher Matt, thank you very much for becoming a member here at RGR. Appreciate the support. Another one here from Daryl. We need full-time stripes. Deal with it. I've been saying it for years. It needs to be full-time. Absolutely. It's needed to be full-time for a very long time now. And it's not just this. It's everywhere. They need to be studying the game full-time just like everybody else because it's their job to get calls right. And at the end of the day, if you're not doing your job 24/7 because you aren't being paid for it, what's the point, right? Jacob, another $4.99 from you here. Appreciate you with the super chat. It's the end of week 2, a whole lot of season left, time to get right and get into the playoffs. I think that's all that matters here. Okay. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl going on the road, right? Going into Buffalo, going into Baltimore. It doesn't matter about getting the 1 seed. Yeah, it'd be great to get the 1 seed, but that right now when you're 0-2 is out the door for the most part, unless you win the rest of your games, which isn't going to happen. So all right now that matters is getting into the postseason. You need to get on the right track, and that starts next week. Sunday Night Football against the New York Giants, who are going to try and test you downfield. We'll talk about that coming up. So hopefully they can get their head right, and we can get seeing a better team on Sunday night next week and getting a better outcome as a result. Beyond blessed, thank you for the 32 months. Very much appreciate that length of support. Hate that our offensive line gets pushed back 5 to 6 yards every play, and the D line barely moves. Yeah, it's not fun to see that happen, specifically from like the interior and guys that are. I won't say guys. I think Creed still has played very, very well. Trey Smith has not had a good first 2 weeks of the season, so that's a frustrating thing to see. This isn't the dark days, guys. I know it's hard to look at an 0-2 team with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, and you feel like maybe you're wasting a season of Patrick. But let's just kind of wait and see what happens here before we see anything else. Right? The team isn't what it's going to be in a few weeks from now. So let's just kind of learn. Hopefully that they continue to learn as they did from week 1. Hopefully you learn from this loss as well, because that's really what this comes down to for me. is that this is a team that looked themselves in the mirror after week 1 and said we had to get better at effort. We had to get better running the football. They had to do some more things differently, which I think that they did, but it didn't execute perfectly at the right time. They did have an opportunity again to win the football game. So try to remember that. I know maybe not win the football game, but at least take the lead, which would have been huge for that. So thank you very much, Caleb, for the support. What is the offensive strategy if the wide receiver depth is weak? And Kelsey continues to look like this. There isn't much for this team. If the wide receivers consistently look like this and you don't get Xavier back, you don't get Rashee Rice back, which we know he's coming back. But if you're trotting out there those guys the rest of the season, it's not going to be good. There's nothing they can really do. They don't have dynamic players. Hollywood Brown is not a dynamic player anymore. But I still think that Kelsey can do more than enough to help you win. It's more, again, the run game and the offense in general, which isn't pulling its weight. Thank you very much, Caleb. Appreciate that. Beach 2, thank you for the 2. 97 or 55 is greater than 90, and 10 has no vision. True and true. Pop looks like he's healthy, but I just don't think that he's just kind of lost what he used to be. So I think that Ashton Gelati played pretty well. I think that I didn't see a lot of Omar Norman-Lott in terms of live watching. I need to go back and watch him to have a better idea of that. But obviously, it's always good to get a sack. Really good on a coverage sack at best. So I think that there's room for improvement. But at the end of the day, they did a good job there as well. KC, what's going on? Member for 17 months. If people are blaming Mahomes, they are blind. I'm with you. I don't think that they should blame Mahomes, but he does deserve his criticism. He's not the reason they lost today. He's part of the reason that they were even in the game to begin with. So we always have to take that with a grain of salt, right? But criticism is one thing. Blame is a whole nother thing. Thank you very much for being a 17-month member here at RGR Football. Another one here for Mr. Free Your Mind. Thank you for the $1.99. Should we try Elijah Mitchell at this point? I mean, no, they're not trying Brashard Smith. So if they don't want to go that route because the offense is different, I guess the streamlining it to Elijah Mitchell could help, but they clearly felt like he was not ready to contribute to this football team or good enough to be on the active roster. So I don't think so. But unfortunately, they're in a position where they might have to try anything to figure something out. Maybe it's Mitchell. Maybe it's more Brashard Smith. But the run game is stagnant at best. Appreciate the support, man. Adrian, thank you for the 5. Bring him back. We need Eric Bieniemy to coach and to catch on. Still appears like there is no real-time adjustments or accountability from the coaches. I actually disagree about the adjustments. I think Spags did a great job adjusting for the large portion of this football game. Andy did try to adjust, but the players out there are just not that good. And the adjustments came in the run game too. They tried running more. They tried more under center play action. They did look themselves in the mirror and make adjustments to what wasn't working. And then the drive to score, which should have scored, is what the adjustment was. The ball was coming out quickly. They were running the football kind of more effectively. They had the one negative play, but then they get the play right back with a nice quick pass to Tyquan Thornton using that off coverage. I think the adjustments were made, but it looks worse because they ended up losing because of the interception, which again, I don't think that should be an interception. It should be a turnover charted somewhere else. But I'll disagree on the adjustments. Andy Reid always takes accountability, but we all know what that actually means. I appreciate the support, Adrian. Hopefully we can see some better, not necessarily adjustments, like I said, but better execution from the team going forward. Brosifus, thank you for the 10 here. Mahomes seems to be throwing a different kind of deep ball than he used to. More moon balls instead of deep crossers. Feels like Pat could be more accurate on deep plays, leading wide receivers horizontally. I don't disagree with that. But there's also a reason that Tyquan Thornton is doing what he's doing. He's a better tracker of the football down the field. Xavier Worthy is better at tracking the football from left to right. I think that stylistically, they're missing Xavier and they're missing Rashee, because Rashee is also good at tracking the football really at any area of the field, left to right, vertically. It doesn't really matter. So I think you're probably onto something there, but they don't have the players right now to actually execute that problem and to fix that problem. So I think that, again, pay attention. Maybe we see a little bit more of that going forward when Xavier comes back and he's actually healthy. We'll kind of see what that shoulder, and then when Rashee Rice gets back, I think that that's a very astute point from you, and thank you very much for the support. Another one here from Jacob: Chiefs first 7 C's to make the Super Bowl. All right, I'm struggling with this one, Jacob. You're gonna have to help me out there. I'm not sure what that means. However, I don't know. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to help me out. I appreciate the support. Hopefully, you can clear that up in the comments. I'll leave it up so you can help me out there. Steven, thank you for the 5. Essentially, overall grade for all the rookies today. At least my Red Raiders are looking good. That's very true. Texas Tech. 7 seed. 7 seed. Got it. Got it, Jacob. Okay, that makes much more sense. I don't know why I couldn't just pick this up, but thank you very much. And you could be right. We'll kind of wait and see what happens. Again, just get to the dance. I think that's all the Chiefs really need to do. That's all they've ever really needed to do. Collectively, I think that I'm going to have to go back and watch Omar Norman lot. Josh Simmons had an up and down day, probably more up than down, but a couple of times he got beat too. Noah Williams, I think he played very well. I think he had a good showing in the limited snaps that he was out there. Again, we don't get to see Brashard Smith didn't do a whole lot today. It wasn't great from a kick return perspective. I think that some of the blocks didn't really hit up for him, but I think the rookies played well today. Personally, again, for this team, I think that they played well. We'll see more on tape and to get a much better idea. But just from watching the broadcast, I think that they played well, and hopefully your Red Raiders continue to play well. Thank you very much for that, Nick. Thank you for the $4.99. Not right now, but at the deadline, would you consider Keon White for trade? No. And the only reason I say that is because Keon White doesn't give you an outside edge rusher, and the Chiefs already want to put Ashton Gelati, Charles Omenihu, George Karlaftis inside. Really, Keon is a defensive end, like a 3-4 defensive end, where he's playing more on the shade of the inside shade of the tackle. And that's really where he lives. He's a tweener, and the Chiefs like tweeners. They do. However, I think that Keon White is probably in a situation where they want to still use him that way. If they would trade him, I mean, you'd have to probably see Mike Dana be out for the season and somebody else get nicked up for them to go ahead and do that. It's an interesting situation. Optic Sport, I appreciate you being here, but this is always funny to me when this kind of stuff happens. They're coming off of 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. This was never said about the Patriots. The Patriots also had like 10 years where they didn't even win a Super Bowl. Like these things actually happen. Relax. I'm not that mad about it. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Thank you for the support, Nick. Last super chat here from Tobias. We knew Rice was suspended. Nothing was done. Offense is bad. I don't think it would have been bad if Xavier had been on the field. I'm more critical of them not getting a running back that actually can help them out. They also didn't know that Rice was suspended yet. That was something that came down the pipe very, very quickly before anyone had any idea it was going to happen this year. Nobody knew what was going on with it. There was no action. There was no movement until all of a sudden it was here. So, I mean, there was suspicion, sure, but no one had informed the team. And again, I think they felt pretty comfortable with Xavier Worthy being the guy, and with a healthy Jalen Royals. You can't know that Jalen Royals is going to get hurt again. Like, he was in practice, he was doing everything, he got hurt again. So the offense right now is bad. Yes, the running back room is the only thing that I really take a lot of issue with, because you can't predict what's going to happen with injuries and what happens with Richie Rice situation that you didn't have any information with until it actually happened. So again, there's always a lens, guys. There's always a lens. We have to remember to see these things through. So hopefully, I'm going to get to the tape tomorrow before we do the Q&A. Let's talk to you guys at the Q&A tomorrow to see what they can do better execution-wise. But hopefully, I know it's going to be a frustrating evening for everybody. I personally, again, I feel much better, even though I lost to the Eagles after this loss, than I did against the Chargers. This one was a much easier thing to say, okay, I can see a path going forward when I couldn't see a better one after the effort we saw in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So there's definitely things that they will have to work on. I thought that the effort was there. The defense is what you have to hang your hat on going forward. Hopefully they continue to play like that. But it's frustrating to start 0-2. It sucks. No team wants to watch no fan wants to watch their team go 0-2. But if any team is going to be able to come back with what they have when they get everybody back and actually make a push for the postseason, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, you guys, we'll see what goes on in the film. We'll get back to you tomorrow on the Q&A and just try to have a better night. Maybe watch some Sunday Night Football, have yourselves a drink, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.